I want to give you a little bit of background. So creative mindfulness is a really awesome way to connect with yourself through play. So 5 years ago, I was blessed with the arrival of Lyme disease. And I'm saying blessed because it changed my life in really difficult ways, but also in really awesome ways. So Lyme disease is a tick-borne infection that enters your bloodstream and then enters various organs of your body. In my case, it really liked my brain. Prior to that, it had entered various parts of my being, and my ability to plan was affected. My ability to categorize was affected. I had some cognitive issues. My ability to handle stimulation, if it was too much, was affected. At the very beginning, my joints were terribly sore and I slept 16 hours a day. But when it reached my brain, something happened that changed my whole life and started this whole process of this program. So seizure events began to happen, which affected my hands. And my hands were no longer my own. I would pick up a pen and it would fall. I didn't really have a lot of hand control. And I wasn't happy with that. So every day when my son went to school, I would sit in the sunshine in a chair in this room in my house I called the crayon room because it had lots of art that I made from crayons in it. And my lovely chocolate lab would sit at my feet and I would put yoga music on and I would draw circles and I would hold the pen like a 3-year-old would hold a pen. And I would draw circles over and over and over again for a couple of hours a day until slowly the circles turned into my art. But before that, and through that whole process, there were some lessons that I learned along the way that I want to share with you that sort of brought me here. One was that when we're authentic and we're vulnerable, it brings magic, but first we have to know who we are. And through that process of having Lyme and having it enter my brain and take my hand control away, I was about as vulnerable as you can imagine. I was out of my body. I felt disconnected from myself. And frustrated is not the word for the way I felt. So the art and drawing really helped me to center, and it helped me to have a routine every morning. And it very slowly helped me to reconnect with myself and get my hands back. Getting my hands back and the art was a connection to self, right? So that's my second lesson, is when we connect with ourselves, we feel a sense of love that's quite magical because we always have that peace and love inside us. And when we connect with it, we can really feel the force of it. The third lesson I learned, those are pictures of my father. He was a very organized, type A personality, chartered accountant. But on the weekend, he was an artist. He didn't think he was an artist. He called himself a craftsman. I called him an artist, though, because everything he did I thought was awesome. One of Dad's lessons growing up, because he spent a lot of time with me doing art, was during your hardest times, remember to play. Every Christmas, he gave me a metal tin of markers and a fabulous real art pad that you would buy at an art store because he believed that if you were drawing, you should have real equipment that you would use as an artist. And then one year, I was pregnant with my son and Dad had cancer. And Christmas was coming and Dad made it very clear to the 3 of us children that he likely was not going to make Christmas. We didn't believe it. We didn't want to know it. But he knew at some level, and he happened to say to me, take care of my grandson, even though I didn't know I was having a boy. He knew. And Dad happened to pass away on December 21st. His funeral was Christmas Eve. After Christmas, after the festivities, after the funeral, after my baby boy was born, I went to his house to meet his wife. And she said to me, why don't you go down to your dad's art area and take whatever you'd like home? He would have wanted you to have it. So I went down to his basement art studio. In the white cabinet at the back was this big art pad and a wrapped present. And I thought, that's weird. And I picked up the present and it had a card in it. And inside the card, it said, during your hardest times, remember to play. And inside the present, of course, was a set of markers like he'd given me forever. And on that very first day when Lyme had hit the brain and caused seizures and I was sitting in my crayon room really upset and not knowing what to do, I felt him and I heard him telling me, remember, during your hardest times, remember to play. And that reminded me to pick up a pen and draw circles and circles and circles and circles until finally the circles turned into my art. So it was really a form of creative mindfulness that I was doing anyway, inherently. But as the art began to grow, which was sort of a self-imposed therapy to calm my mind that my life was so very different than it had been for so many years, I really wanted to make it my mission to help other women through their life storms to find their version of their own rainbows. My art is my version of my own rainbow.
So that is how Creative Mindfulness was born. And now it's time for you to fly and find your own version of your own rainbow.